welcome to Star Trek Adventures here every fortnight. The Modifius play game, actual play, role-play game. I am your GM, Stu Jackson, aka Stooge Action. Over in the command chair, we have Eelin Wraal.
Hello, I'm
like he had to mention who it was this time.
I've decided I am in the chair this time. Well, sort of.
Okay.
I'm only second in command.
You're our commander.
You're
Yes.
Riker climbing over it.
Yeah, we have Lieutenant Commander, our Chief Medical Officer, Bosh.
Good evening.
We have, looking after our security and the security of the Federation, Lieutenant Commander Lee Varren.
Salutations.
And doing all things pointy-eared and logical, we have Lieutenant Davok in the science chair.
Hello.
Hey, so how are we all doing? Are we all keeping well?
Yes.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Yes, happy to be off the Alcubierre and ready to
Jesus.
find out where we're going next.
Well, are you off? Because as we left it last time, you got the comm message through.
Do we not?
As far as
Did we not
got.
actually beam? Oh no!
The last thing that happened was that my comrades beat.
Stu!
In fact, do you know what? That's
quit.
probably a really good place for us to have a catch up as to where we are. And as ever, we do our catch up via a log.
Science Officer's Log, Stardate 57076.8, Lieutenant Davok reporting. We are thankfully back on board the USS Livingstone following our unsettling experience aboard the USS Alcubierre. You know I was going to mess this up. Alcubierre, there we go. The entire away team proved surprisingly capable when it came to securing the ship from the Romulans. I say surprising, as they excelled in ways I could not have predicted, although working alongside such emotional, volatile species, predicting behaviours is somewhat challenging. Our Chief Medical Officer shows exceptional restraint for a Ferengi, and our First Officer Wraal displays a distinctly logical mind that would not be altogether out of place on Vulcan itself. Security Chief Varren, however, seems to allow emotion to dictate most of his actions, which only serves to confirm what I already believed about humans. It would seem that the Romulan commander of the Legion, who attacked and took control of the ship, was under the influence of the same species of neural parasite that tried to infiltrate Starfleet some 16 years ago. Despite finding the creatures quite fascinating, I'm relieved on two fronts. Firstly, that there does not seem to be an overt act of war from the Romulans, given that they were being influenced by external force. And secondly, I'm personally relieved to be away from the situation. I find the concept of being controlled by another being and losing my self-control disturbing, to say the least.
I'm sorry, I fell asleep during
There
that
we
because
are.
there was a lack of emotion.
Oh, ouch. Brilliantly done. Thank you, Davok. So you are now back on board the Livingston, and indeed, under Captain Liera's instructions, you have started towing the USS Alcubierre back to Starbase 117, which is the closest starbase to it. I'm going to fast forward through a little bit unless anybody wants to do anything particular. Do feel free to stop me at any point.
Just want to make sure that we get back on our ship, the Livingston.
You're definitely on board your ship. In fact,
Okay, can I have that in writing?
In fact, you
A long
are.
sit down in your quarters that makes you feel better.
You are the one, in fact, Varren, operating the tractor beam. On the
lovely.
Alcubierre.
Let me just look up how to do that.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm not gonna have you roll for these bits and pieces. Because...
No, I actually engage the track beam to a nearby object or vessel requires the control and security, assisted by the ship's weapon and security of the difficulty of 2.
That would
Got it.
normally
It's
be
like
the
he's read the
case,
book or something.
but you can take your time in this instance. So it's fine. And I mean, the rolling is great under, sort of stressful situations, but you guys are Starfleet.
Oh.
You're well trained.
No, I'm proving to you that I'm prepared for this game because I have rules in front of me, which would be a first in our 6 games that we've played.
Absolutely. And you want the opportunity to show off. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I'll just take this off. Just
Well, it's after Watershed, so it's fine.
Well, it is in this country anyway. In ours.
Yes, that's a good point.
I mean, I'm 3 beers in, and it's 4:00 in the afternoon, so whatever.
Excellent. So you tow the Alcubierre back to Starbase 117, where Captain Liera is greeted by Admiral Janeway, and they go off for a bit of a confab. As you're on board the Starbase, doing your usual things, you're having your duty shifts, and then you're spending your downtime either on the ship or more likely on the Starbase where there's better facilities. Word has clearly gotten about these neural parasites, and those people that know about them, they're starting to look around very suspiciously. You notice people watching necks quite a lot more than they normally would. So that's clearly sending a bit of a shockwave of paranoia through
Watching
Starfleet.
what?
Neck.
Oh, yeah. No, I got
the
it.
spine.
Got it.
Yeah. Technically, it's a gill. You would know, but it does look like a sort of a thorn, blue thorn from a plant. That's how I sort of picture it. But yeah, so a good day goes by. Derek has been debriefed by both Captain Liera and Admiral Janeway, and indeed, Admiral Janeway and Captain Liera have been spending a lot of time together when Commander Wraal, you have been summoned to the Admiral's office.
Oh, crikey.
You turn up. There's no need to wear your dress uniform. It's fine. And
It's Admiral Janeway I'm going in to see here. The woman is a legend.
Yes, and she's known to murder people she doesn't like. So
The entire species.
Yeah, I'm walking in there. I'm not using a transporter. Bad things would happen if that would happen. That could be a whole episode.
Absolutely. Yes, you make your way in, and indeed Captain Liera and Admiral Janeway are there. And the first thing Admiral Janeway asks you is, Commander Wraal, what is your opinion on Derek Stallman?
Well, Admiral, we found him on board the Alcubierre, and there was, bearing in mind that Captain Kelly and his entire crew had, as far as we can tell, been murdered by the Romulan away team who'd taken possession of the ship.
Commander Wraal, she interrupts and stops you, says, I know the story about what happened. I'm asking for your personal opinion on the man himself.
Shit.
He's a shadow of what he should be, Admiral. There's not much left of him in there. Not much left of a Starfleet officer in there. Maybe because of what he's seen.
Do you think he's redeemable as a Starfleet officer?
I would think so. But I would suggest that he is at least reassigned to a less stressful position for the time being. And certainly should be seeing a Starfleet counselor for some time to come. Undoubtedly, his abilities assisted us a great deal, which is testament to his abilities, considering what he had gone through, that he was able to help us get the Alcubierre back up and running at the last moment.
Admiral Janeway and Captain Liera share a look, and Janeway says, Commander, I won't beat about the bush. Do you feel he'd be a good fit on the Livingston?
Admiral, I think, considering that we rescued him, I think we'd be okay helping him back to where he should be. I would have no problem with him continuing on the Livingston. Also, I want to keep an eye on him. I've been wandering off around the rest of Starfleet, messing other people's stuff up.
It's not his brother, right?
That remains to be seen.
Okay, there is another more serious matter, Commander. I'm ordering the Livingstone to the Klingon space station to further investigate this matter. It's a matter of urgency, and the Livingston is the closest starship in tow. But due to a very meaningful look with Captain Liera, a personal matter with your captain, do you feel ready to take command on this mission?
Gulp. Absolutely, Admiral.
Captain Liera holds up a hand before you respond and says, Eelin, you know that as a Denobulan, once a year I need to hibernate for a week. That time has come. If you're not ready, I can keep command. I'm sure I can get stimulants and medication from Bosh to keep going, but I would not be at my best.
Captain, as first officer, I'm expected to step into the captain's chair at any time in much more stressful situations than this, so it will be my privilege to take command of the Livingston temporarily whilst you attend to your hibernation.
Thank you. Who do you propose as your acting executive officer?
I can almost see him now, pointing at himself. It would be my recommendation that Mr. Varren, Lieutenant Commander Varren, be appointed acting executive officer. His tactical knowledge will be of great use. And whilst I'm certain that other members of the crew would also fill that role particularly well, I think that we need someone with his tactical know-how to stand beside me whilst the captain is indisposed temporarily.
Okay. Right. They both nod and agree, and you are dismissed with your orders to proceed with haste. You are permitted to go to Warp 8 for the purpose of this mission. It will take you a week to get to Kortar Station at Warp 8.
To clarify, we are going to the Klingon station to further discuss basically what was happening with what's going on. Do we have any extra parameters to our mission other than that?
The Imperial warbird Decius, which was the warbird that had taken over the Alcubierre. It's when Derek checked through stellar cartography, he'd worked out that its last known course when it left its boarding party on board the Alcubierre was towards Kortar Station, which is on the edge of Klingon space. So
okay,
that's the crew that had done that to the Alcubierre were last seen heading for the Klingons in a warbird. So yeah, that's our clue. That's our.
Are the Klingons aware that we are coming?
Good question, Captain. Are the Klingons aware that we're coming? Before I go, just let me wake you up a minute. Hang on.
Tap your come badge. Well, I mean, actually, it's in your briefing notes. There has been no contact with the Kortar Station.
Okay.
No response to hails.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, this is more of a noob question. If we were to show up at a Klingon station uninvited as a Starfleet officers, are we in a position with the Klingons where we could show up and we wouldn't be, where there wouldn't be an issue?
We're not at war with them at the moment.
Klingons are allies. Klingons are
okay. So
allies
it'd
of
be like going
Starfleet.
into essentially a friendly space.
Yeah,
Okay.
post-Dominion War, we're considered quite honourable allies with them.
Okay, so Defiant showing up at a station, even if it wasn't responding, would be viewed upon as a friendly action in the first place.
We'll have to see when we get there.
But it should be.
Okay,
Depends how they
thank
turn
you.
up. I mean, the Klingons are not Federation citizens, so this is how do I put it? This would
That
be
was-
like
yeah.
turning up to Canada in a warship from America.
But smiling.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that makes all the difference. I'll make sure to wear my biggest smile.
I mean, Canada and America are friends, so, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I would have defected to Canada.
Okay, you have 3 directives as part of this mission that are very, very pertinent. The first one, naturally, is the Prime Directive. You are reminded to follow the Prime Directive at every step of the way.
Don't annihilate the Klingons.
I mean, you're dealing with a species outside the Federation, so the Prime Directive applies. Your secondary directive is to protect Starfleet from infiltration by the neural parasites by any means possible, short of breaching the Prime Directive. And your third directive is to protect Federation citizens where possible. In that order.
Okay.
So, Acting Captain Wraal. What would you like to
Right,
do?
so it looks like I get the centre seat. So I will presumably call over our relief helmsman, who may or may not need to be rolled up at some point. I'm sure I will.
Already rolled up.
Fantastic.
I mean, it's up to you. You can put a different person in the chair or you can command from the Conn station.
No, so I'll take the well, no, this is the big chance. And if you're doing the commander's job, you've got your eye on that big seat. So if Admiral Janeway is going to give me a shot at it, even as a trial run, I'm going to be grabbing that. Thanks very much. So I'm going to settle myself, and you'll see later in the Discord pictures, firmly in the captain's chair. Thanks very much. I'm going to pop Captain Liera. There she is. She's going to go to her bunk in her ready room. I presume she's just
Can we see some money for scale, like in the other Discord?
I will do on this because they are quite small.
All right, good.
So yeah,
Captain
she's going
Liera
to go
goes
to her bunk with
night-night.
a massive "Do Not Disturb Captain Hibernating" sign plastered over the door.
So to that point, is Liera on ship or is she at station?
She's staying on board the station.
Okay.
Unless you
I mean-
specifically ask.
No.
otherwise.
Party in the rec room. Her place was right next to the rec room, and they have very thin walls. So now we can play shit late into the night.
Exactly. Also, if she's hibernating for a week, she may need like slightly bigger, better, medical facilities, just in case she oversleeps or something.
Yeah.
Do you want Bosh would you want to be woken up by Bosh after a week of sleep?
Exactly. But now with those expanded medical facilities, we can do all those. Never mind.
Yeah, so I'll take that. So if you do have a relief con officer,
Indeed.
I'm more than happy for them to take the helm.
His name is Barrick, and
Nope.
he's a brother to Eric and Derek.
Nope. The Adosian, Grace Wilson.
Famously, yeah, I'll let her drive.
Yeah.
She's mad.
Happy
Who is
to
this?
take the Conn. Grace
Very good.
Wilson, the Adosian.
Is that one with the three limbs?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, 6 limbs.
Yeah, so
technically,
six.
yes.
So yeah, especially
How-
3 hands. How else? What a fantastic con officer! Literally, just press all the buttons.
How many eyes do they have, Ed? Because that's
only-
the important thing.
Well, as long as they got. Well, actually, they have less than 21, so they should be okay.
Okay. No, it can't be 11.
You can't be
You lose
11.
more than 11. Okay, sorry.
So, in that case, everyone, ship is secure from Starbase.
Okay, did we get fuel?
I'm presuming the deuterium tanks have been filled up by the chief engineer.
The deuterium
Sure.
tanks are full.
And all we need now is to, one moment, reconfigure the multivariant osmotic reaction equalizer, and we'll be good to go.
Bless you.
Right.
And I shall be using my my engineering multiple Star Trek techno babble generator as and when. In the meantime, Conn, please set course for Kortar Station on the edge of Klingon space and engage. We are authorized Warp 8.
Okay. And on your command, course is laid in and set.
Activate.
And as the scene
Thought of
closes,
a cooler thing than activate. Really, that was me.
as the ship goes to warp. Again, we're going to fast forward the week-long journey to Kortar Station. Is there anything in particular you would like to do during that week?
There was, just a slight retcon because we moved forward. While we were on the last space station, I wanted to hand over. Oh, actually, was it a Federation station?
It is a Federation station.
Was there anybody there I could sell a Romulan disruptor to subtly?
Do you know what? Give me, if you're going to be subtle about it.
Of course, otherwise it's arms dealing.
It still is arms dealing.
No.
Give me a daring and security roll, difficulty 3.
Complete and utter failure.
How much of a failure?
Were you arrested or what?
Your
Because
contact stolen
there
off
may
you?
be complications.
Yes, there is complications. It's a 20.
Oh no!
Oh, you just had to go and try and make some money.
So what was on the dice?
A 20 and a 14.
Okay. Yes,
Oh my god!
you have had the disruptor confiscated, and you have a reprimand in your permanent record.
Oh. Yeah.
You're
Oh,
lucky
bad
to
lad.
still be serving.
Oh my god!
Starbase security is pretty strict.
See, if you'd only tried to murder somebody, you would be first officer. But no, you had to go sell weapons.
I imagine someone raised an eyebrow and thought, well, he is a Ferengi.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I mean,
Very,
there's a bit of that, but there was also, you feel, perhaps an element of wanting to make an example.
Ooh.
That's a shame, because I was hoping for my cut of the disruptor I gave him to sell as well. But,
Oddly enough, Varren is still wearing his disruptor as well as his phaser. He's not put it down. It was more, you think it's more of a keepsake, but yeah,
and Varren is currently wearing more knives than a Romulan chef.
exactly. All of the Romulan knives he has on him.
Davok is very happy to be sharing the ship with such moral guided people.
If Varren has tried to, I mean, if these were spotted, you'd have been ordered to hand them over.
What, the disruptors
and the knives, yeah.
Clearly, I would have known that. So Varren just walks around with like a weird imprint in his pants, and he walks around looking at everyone like, "Yeah, that's right."
Okay.
I think Bosh, having been caught, I would have probably mentioned to everybody to go and put them all in the ship's weapons locker.
To be fair, in all honesty, I feel like we either would have, Varren would have looked at Starfleet regulations, figured out whether or not he could put them in the weapons locker and probably talk to Wraal, being his immediate officer, commanding officer. He probably would have told Wraal, like, this is what I plan on doing. If not, I will confiscate them. He would have kept one knife probably in his cabin, but he wouldn't keep it on him.
That would seem reasonable.
While we're travelling on the ship, Davok would like to review the incident from 16 years ago, just to see if there's any clues or assistance that we might get from that.
Okay. Now, are you, Amy, familiar with that episode?
I am not, no.
Right, so 16 years ago, this neural parasite infiltrated some very high-ranking members of Starfleet. It was only the intervention of the Enterprise that uncovered the plot. There were quite a number of admirals and captains who had been taken over by the neural parasites. People who had been taken over became physically stronger, faster, much more resistant to phasers, either stun or even on kill. They were more resistant, exactly as you've seen with the Romulans. The Enterprise uncovered a kind of a mother creature, a queen, if you will, located in the which had, what's the word I'm looking for? It had parasited. It had infiltrated a person.
Infested.
Infested. Thank you. It had infested. I believe he was a commander. Might have been a lieutenant commander. Destroying the queen. Effectively shut down all the other parasites. It destroyed all the other parasites around. The trouble is the parasites had just managed to get a signal off to what is believed to be their home world, and it was a homing signal. Now, nothing more has been heard about them in 16 years until this event.
Okay. And was anything special used to kill the queen?
It was 2 phasers set on full. Type 2 phasers.
Set on face.
Yes.
Much like we did to that Romulan
Yeah.
commander as well.
Okay. Now,
Jesus
I wonder, is there a way of programming my tricorder to pick up a signal that these parasites can emit? So I imagine that they're controlling.
So that Davok just walks around the halls going like this, like, hello, good to see you. How are you doing?
Where are you?
Susan Collins, are you here?
Yeah, a bit something to help detect these parasites.
That is an excellent idea. The communication, it's clearly some form of psychic communication, which can happen over light years. So these neural parasites, like I said, they were infesting a number of captains and admirals throughout the entire quadrant. So they were still communicating over very, very long distances. Currently, with the tricorder, there is no way of monitoring any psychic communication with the tricorder. However, you can, having obviously investigated the records, you can program your tricorder to flag up if there are any neural parasites in a person or in the vicinity.
So wait, you're saying that they communicate telepathically?
Yes.
Over light years within an instant?
Yes.
Well, Varren's head hurts.
Well, I'll spend the week preparing everyone's tricorders, so you'll all be able to do that.
I mean, that's an interesting point, Varren. In fact, on reading the material, and because there's an entire week of travel, it's quite right that you would sort of investigate this. And going down that particular route, there has been speculation from Federation scientists that the psychic link is actually over subspace rather than through normal. But that's pure
That old hat
speculation.
again.
It is pure speculation. There's no actual evidence of it.
Varren, upon realizing this in the Wikipedia article he looked up on telepathy and all this stuff, he saw subspace and he was just like, whatever.
What, like gravitational waves or something?
Whatever the hell that was, just when you reach the end of the map and it rebounds you back, that's what subspace is.
Yeah. And it's Trekipedia now, by the way. Just so you know.
No, that's fair. We would be self-aware to call it.
Memory alpha, as they used to call it.
Yes. Varren has something he would like to do for a week. Just more out of understanding history and trying to become a better security officer and realize, yes, person. With his new understanding that he's going to be first officer, he wants to look over his previous posting on the USS Titan and look over duty logs and more of what first officers within that position help for. He's basically doing an expanded study, just a reanalysis of what his original posting was prior to coming here, kind of looking over his only understanding of that with context of that, with himself, as well as, what happened and what could have happened, just more keeping up to date.
I understand. Yeah, you can spend a lot of time researching the logs, like your own logs from the Titan.
My own logs, as well as anything that would be public information. I'm sure Riker's was probably not public information, but any other that were out there, just trying to get a sense of situation, trying to get a feel for, because he wasn't a security officer at that point. He certainly wasn't a tactical officer at that point. If you can find those, that would be nice, but just more of an understanding of what was going on in the Titan and how the situations were resolved in a proper manner.
Well, certainly
he realized
a lot of it would be public and very easily accessible. Some of it would be sensitive, but not all. Okay.
Well, it's more of just having an understanding that he's in a bigger role now than he's ever been in before, and understanding being that was the previous ship that he had ever served on, having a better understanding of that.
Okay.
In context, so he doesn't, accidentally try and murder somebody that comes on the screen to get saved by the DM.
Well, two things really jump out at you quite strongly from doing that. One is that it was very clear that one of the primary roles for certainly the XO on the Titan is to look after the safety of the captain.
Okay.
And to stop the captain from rushing into dangerous situations.
Okay.
And also to look after the crew as well. So the XO is kind of the crew's representative to the captain. He fights the corner for the crew when it comes to the captain. Are you familiar with a sergeant?
Yes, sir.
It's kind of not. It's that sort of halfway between the people and the and the office and the leader. It's kind of
Understood.
sergeant but higher rank. Man in both camps, as it were.
No, it is speak to both and speak for both, but not not intervene and try and make sure everyone's voices are heard, but done in the best way possible. Understood.
Yes. Any disagreements with the captain, though, must take place behind closed doors. Need to be seen supporting your captain to everyone else. Setting the best possible example to the crew.
I am doomed. Okay.
That's fine. You're Starfleet. You're going to be a paragon of virtue.
I am Starfleet. You are correct.
There you go.
easily going to be able to step up to a role that's just above the one you're at the moment.
just above the one that I'm qualified for.
Door opening, not a problem. Exo, dead easy.
I'm glad you got the confidence. What were you thinking?
So we know how Davok is spending the week. We know how the commander is now spending the week. The acting commander is spending the week. Bosh, how is Bosh spending the week?
I'd like to
Be right back. I'm listening.
set up some hypersprays, a bit of a set, sort of 2 hypersprays for everybody. And I'd like to have them with subdermal bioprobes.
Expand on that.
So they're small sensors that are injected into living creatures, and they record and transmit detailed physiological data about the subject. They can also be modified to include a homing beacon. But ideally, I want them to have. I'll modify all of them to have give off a decaying signature that we can track. But they'll anyone that is injected with this, I want to be able to run diagnostics of from a distance.
Okay. I mean, it sounds very much like a technical thing going on.
It is within research and development medical equipment.
Okay. Are you getting any assistance from anyone in engineering?
Sure, I can lend a hand if you need it.
Yes.
I mean, you have a chief engineer as well, Sonia Gomez.
Oh yes. No, no offense to Mr. Davok, but I'll get the chief engineer so that they can sort out the homing beacon, because that permits a transporter operator to maintain a continuous transporter lock on the subject as long as nothing blocks the device's signal.
Okay, but it has to be administered basically by touch.
It's just these devices are small sensors designed to be injected into a living creature. They record and, if desired, can transmit detailed physiological data about the subject, can also easily be modified to include a homing beacon that allows a starship to maintain a continuous transporter lock on the subject and potentially beam up the subject the instant she suffers any or becomes sufficiently stressed. Subdermal bioprobes can also be set to detect energy fields and environmental conditions in the subject's immediate vicinity and can be used to determine the precise modulation of any force fields the subject passes through.
Okay. Now,
Sorry?
mechanically within the game... No,
I was just going to pop in and say, holy shit, that was a lot of words. Anyways.
Now, mechanically within the game, taking additional items beyond your standard phaser, communicator and tricorder does require momentum spend, and you do not currently have any momentum. So I'm going to help you out here by saying I'm going to need you to roll for this. I'm going to make it a difficulty 1 because that is quite you're looking at doing something very, very specific, and with Sonia's help, that's what's making it a difficulty 1. But yeah, give me a control and medicine roll.
I get 1 success.
You get a success. You don't get any momentum then. That's unfortunate. What was your other dice?
19.
9. Ooh, dangerously close.
I made these very badly.
Yeah. Just so you're all aware, by the way, and this is a rule that I'm just kind of becoming aware of myself. Complications, they have ranges, so some tasks have greater complication ranges than others. So, for example, if it's a complication range of 3, that means an 18, 19, or a 20 will produce a complication. And this was a complication 1, so you're fine.
20.
But yeah.
Oh.
Just so you're aware, I will call out if it is a different complication to 1.
Just
different complication range.
Something, not to like, realizing what this week is and all that other stuff, and something we neglected to do last time. And I want to. I can let Bosh. I do have one more thing, so I'll say that afterwards. So figure out what's going on with Bosh
built
first.
them all. Just can't work out how to take them with us just yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
They need more pockets.
Well, that's going to be an issue for bringing a Type 3 phaser on board if we are going in dark, correct? Because we don't have any momentum to spend.
Yeah, it would cost us that as a we spend
is there
momentum to take a bigger phaser for you, for example. Yeah.
Is there a roll that we can make in that situation? Or not really, because we're not actually creating anything. It's just opening a locker, and we just don't have the time to spend on it. So, got it.
Yeah.
So, on top of that, I have an opportunity maybe to generate momentum. I don't know if it would be. I don't know the rules. We never made a map last time, and I would like to make a map of the Klingon station and download it to our tricorders and spend at least part of my week. Maybe if I have to negate studying the other thing, that would be great. But I'd like to get a real focused map of the Klingon station, the best that we have. I mean, I imagine we wouldn't have real schematics because it's not Starfleet, but we may have spies or something in there. Or probably not spies, but even just.
I think prior to arrival, we would have a crew briefing, which would include bringing up all the information that the ship's computer and therefore the Federation.
I want to make clear that
and what we can learn about that from the ship.
I want to make clear that if we do have any sort of schematics or any sort of like available data, I'd like to put that in our tricorders, because we didn't do that last time, and that was a big issue, or became an issue once we realized we're on a ship and we have no idea where we're going. So if there's any sort of way to do that would be great too.
There absolutely is. I mean, this would be a difficulty 0 task. So ordinarily, I would say you wouldn't roll for it, especially having a week in which to do it. But as you said, you specifically want to build up momentum. On this occasion, I will let you roll for it, because if you roll complications, that'll be funny as hell.
Well, that would be great. And we get the map, but it's rotated 180 degrees because it's from Australia. So, as we were talking about earlier. So,
you'd like more assistance with it to help generate more.
To be fair, that's a bad idea, because it could generate more threat or like more complicated. You know what? Why not? We'll have the science officer and say,
I have a focus in Klingon culture and tactics.
Do you really?
If I were to investigate the computers,
that would help. I feel like. I don't know. That's really up to Stu. That may not help whatsoever. It's a fucking starship. It could be worth nothing.
I mean, this is literally calling up a file, saying to the computer, give me the layout of Kortar station.
Drag and drop to tricorder, so maybe not.
Yeah, it really is as simple as that. I mean, the Klingon culture one may become relevant, but this is just.
Do I roll 2 or just 1?
You roll 2 dice. Oh, this is against. I ought to tell you what it's against, really. Control and. Security.
Have it up.
Yeah.
Control and security. Oh, that's quite good. Well, not great, but it'd be. It's 2 successes. I got an 8 and a 10, and my control is 8, and my security is 5. So.
You have 2 momentum now.
Oh, really? Oh,
yes.
No. In which case, how many momentum would it cost to bring what Bosh was talking about, as well as a Type 3 phaser on the mission?
1 momentum per item per person. Now, I will count 2 hypo sprays as 1 item.
In which case, if we get there, and I'm just going to point this out, if we get there and we're still having no comms and not doing it, I would suggest bring 1 for Bosh and a Type 3, but that's up to you. That's up to the captain.
Will cost us 1 momentum and
that's fine.
do 2 extra threat.
That's also an option.
That's I mean, obviously that's up to you guys. I don't know what's going on, but if it is the Romulans that are showing up and they're going there, I would suspect we might have a bigger issue on hand. I would like to be prepared for that issue. However, it's not just about having a big gun. I mean, it's partially about having it's a lot about having a big gun.
What's that extra challenge dice every time he hits?
Varren is compensating for a very small penis, but really, I mean, if he could dual wield for 2 momentum, that would be great. But yeah,
look, just like the bald head in the 24th century, people won't care.
Yeah.
Do they not care? Because that would be wonderful. Because I feel like, let's go. I got a lot of sheen here because I've been wearing a hat. So all this is red and this is super white. But whatever.
Fantastic. And so we know what everyone else is doing. What's Commander Wraal doing with his week?
Well, I will actually specifically request the computer brings us all information pertinent to Kortar Station. So I want to know its sort of size, layout, complement, who last commanded it, everything that we've got from the Klingon Defence Force on that particular station.
Okay.
Also the easy guide of like Idiot's Guide to Captaining.
I'll give you the crib notes version of everything that is pertinent, quite simply for you. So it is on the border of unexplored space. So it's like a jumping off point. Kortar is a somewhat neglected outpost of the Empire. In its heyday, at the height of the Klingon expansion, it was a very important station, but now it sits on one of the most outermost frontier regions, all but forgotten, and only those who have fallen out of favour with their superiors find themselves posted here. Not unlike Nimbus 3, those who are familiar with the best ever Star Trek movie, Star Trek 5. Fantastic. But yes, I mean, you will have gained all the information about who the commanding officer is. I'm just, if that becomes relevant, I'll provide it.
We've got it if we need it.
In fact, the commander is Betrell, son of Maketh. There you go.
That was Betrell.
Betrell.
Sorry, I just a thought. When the engineering chief engineer was helping me, should I roll 3 dice rather than 2?
So I fudged it a little bit. Probably did it the wrong way mechanically, but her helping you made it difficulty 1 rather than it being
that's
a difficulty
fine.
2.
Just double checking.
Yeah, like I say, it's not necessarily the right way of doing it, but for ease.
Yep.
For ease, yeah. Okay. Well, if that's what everyone is doing, a week passes and the Livingston comes out of warp just near the Kortar space station, and that's probably a good place for a wee break.
Right on.
And we are going to be back in 5 minutes. Yeah, let's say 5 minutes.
That sounds
fantastic. Good. Right. See you all in a moment.
Perfect. In a bit.
Bye. And we are back. So all refreshed and emptied and topped up. All the stuff we need to do. So you have arrived at Kortar Station. How's everyone feeling about this Klingon station?
Pretty calm.
Pensive.
Yeah.
Terrified.
A little bit, yes, a little bit of a sense of trepidation, especially if it's, as you say, inhabited mainly by Klingons who have fallen from favour.
Well, it's also I'm more worried about the fact that we haven't received a message from them. That we've been hailing them and we haven't gotten anything from them on comms.
We've just
this
dropped out of warp within good range, so I think now would be the time to start hailing and basically mention, show that we're here.
Hailing would be the wrong word. That Starfleet has sent communications and we haven't responded back. That makes me worried.
Yeah, there appears to have been communications blackout, definitely. And this is more a question for Bosh, Varren and Davok. How do you all feel about Wraal as acting captain suddenly? Are we confident? Are we trepidatious?
I have no strong feelings either way.
No,
Yeah, that's said like a true Vulcan.
He seems to have the lobes for command.
Oh, high praise indeed.
Varren
No
doesn't
lobes for
have
business, but lobes for command.
Varren
never
doesn't
going to
have
forgive
a
me for
lot of
making him a temporary exo. He's never going to forgive me for that.
Even though Varren was a crew member on Titan, which is only 15% human, is one of the most diverse ships of the Starfleet, or of Starfleet in general. There weren't a lot of Trilly. He doesn't have a lot of experience with them, but given his situation and given when shit got hairy, I think just as a commander, he feels confident enough to take orders from him, because while it was a little bit, I think Varren was concerned that people weren't taking things seriously when the shit hit the fan. I think Varren's was very appreciative of Wraal just kind of letting things loose and taking care of business and that sort of deal. So I think Varren is confident. He would be more. I think he would be more scared if it was the captain being on board, because he doesn't have any experience with her as yet, other than her being the superior officer.
Okay, and of course Varren's just been given a shitload of more responsibility.
He is not excited. He's excited in the sense that it's more responsibility and it's better for his career and he wants experience, but he is concerned and probably a little bit more trepidatious than usual. And also not fully understanding why he was given that.
Okay.
And obviously Bosh, not being a massive fan of female authority figures, is actually feeling a little more comfortable with Wraal in charge.
Fucking misogynist. What?
Yep.
Ferengi.
We're getting
it's just Matt.
it's definitely getting a more malocentric command structure now. Indeed.
Yeah, it's just a lot of dudes. just
In space.
fucking sausage party. We could just call this whole experience sausage party in space.
Out of curiosity, because this is entirely your option, Ed. Has Wraal told everyone why he is acting commander?
And why he chose Varren as his acting commander?
Why Wraal is acting captain? Has he told everyone the reason?
Oh yes, good point.
Yes.
I think from the feel I get, OOC of Captain Liera, I think that she would, it's common knowledge that Denobulans have to, they sleep, like they hibernate once a year. So I think it would be common knowledge that she would have announced that to the crew as well. That Commander Wraal is taking over whilst I have my sleep hibernation cycle for the year. So well, I would imagine that she would have told me that as well as telling the whole crew.
Well, she didn't tell the crew. She didn't say one way or the other whether or not you should. I'm putting all this on you.
In that case,
did you?
In that case, I would certainly have told my immediate bridge staff here, because they need to know why it is I'm suddenly sat in the chair. Yeah, maybe I wouldn't necessarily announce to at the moment. I think we'll just let the rest of the crew know. Certainly, the captain is not on board. The captain is has taken some medical leave at Starbase. Whilst we engage on this mission, I'm acting commander. Oh, I am acting captain.
Varren would like to know what the crew response is to him being made XO. Not the bridge crew, but specifically crew on board elsewhere. And that's a Stu question.
Okay.
Has he noticed it?
Remind me how long Varren's been on board the Livingston?
Since we started, which would be prior to the first mission. So really, I as far as I was understanding, the Livingston has not been an active ship in the fleet up until we started doing here, being that it was a prototype. If that is not the case, then the last mission would have been his first mission.
Yeah, the Livingston has been operational for a while, but yes, a whole new bunch of crew were picked up just at the last mission. So, yeah, they're just
it would have been 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, they're nonplussed. I mean, they don't know you, so
okay.
Most of their training involves or has sort of inculcated in them that change of command and command structure is what it is. You have people above you; they may move around. People may switch department heads or switch departments. That's it. Just happens, and as long as you're told that you're now you're in the sciences, your new department head is Davok. Report to him.
Yeah.
For your duty assignment. That'd be okay.
Sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Got it.
I'm afraid, Usher, I don't have a sword.
Oh, I know. I mean,
we have an Amy, but in a different capacity.
It was just a funny.
I know. Yeah. But yeah, does that? Yeah, they're just not. They're not fazed by it.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Fantastic. So, sorry, I just wanted to grill you all on how you all felt on this sudden change. Yeah, excellent. So the ship has just dropped out of warp in the vicinity of Kortar Station. What is the first thing you want to do?
Well, clearly approaching what is a friendly station, we will open up hailing channels straight away and openly hail them. I know that they have been radio silent for a while, but I mean that's the long-range subspace. We're very, very close in here, so open hailing frequencies with it. And in the meantime, Mr. Davok, scan the station, please. Let's just make sure everything is as it should be.
Yes.
Okay. Well, your comm officer, Ardaran, who is a Bolian, he tells you that there is no response.
Okay. Can he determine whether or not our signal is being received? Is it simply not being returned?
There's just absolutely nothing. It's like the signal's just going out into open space.
Okay.
Question: is the term for Wraal captain or acting captain?
You would address him as captain.
Captain Wraal. Would it behoove us to scan for the Romulan ship, or for the ship that left? Make sure it's not at port.
If that's around here, and it's highly likely that it is, we ideally don't want, or I don't want them to know that we know they could be here. So if we start pulsing out scanning waves out to look for them, that might alert them. If they're watching, and they probably are out here somewhere watching, I want them to make it look, and I want them to see us dutifully calling the station and then scanning the station as you would normal Starfleet procedure would be on approach to a station. But in the meantime, Mr. Varren, stand by with the shields and the weapons just in case.
Varren, make sure to
those itchy fingers of yours.
Act as if he knew all that and was just testing the new captain.
Happy to reassure you.
Excellent. So Davok is going to scan, is that correct?
Yes.
So, what I am going to require from you to do a general scan using the ship sensors is a reason and science task. This is difficulty 0, and you are going to be assisted by the ship's sensors. So, I'm actually going to get Matt to roll for the ship, because what we haven't mentioned to all the listeners is you've got something very, very special. Tell everyone about what you've got.
Oh, yes.
I do. They are 3D printed and custom then painted. I don't quite see. Star Trek D20s in medical blue. I also have, for when we roll the D6s, in medical blue, or slightly turquoisey actually. So it goes with the Deep Space Nine era. A 2-hit, that way 1 hit, and a critical. Unfortunately, I am the only one to have these dice at the moment because the post didn't go when it was supposed to go. But Ed has a set coming in Command Red. Amy has a set coming in medical blue as well.
Science.
And sorry,
Science.
Science division.
well, it's medical.
Science.
Medical's the better sciences. And Usher will be having a set in mustard. And
Yeah,
Stu is having 3 sets, 1 of each colour.
Just shit mustard.
Just mustard. actually,
awesome.
the yellow is a really nice, shiny, see-through yellow.
That's the nicest thing you said about me.
It is the
Except
only
my
nice
color
thing
is
about
nice.
Brilliant. And they look absolutely amazing. We'll get some photos on the Discord
Yes.
Yeah.
for everyone to see. That'd be brilliant. So for that reason, Bosh is going to be rolling for the ship. So you'll be assisting with sensors and science. Does everyone have the ship?
Do not. Can you link it in the Discord? Is there a PDF for it?
I couldn't find a ship thing.
There is
That
a
was
PDF
the-
somewhere kicking about. I don't know if I have it myself. Oh, panic.
I'm sure Matt does, but that was the one thing I could not find in the Discord is our ship.
Oh, I'll pin it. Oh, is it not on the thing?
Well, I could always go back and watch the
The creation.
the creation of it, which was dope. But did we? Well, no, we didn't even do the creation. We didn't live stream that, did we?
No.
No, we did it amongst ourselves. I've got it somewhere.
What was it?
I'm sure.
What was it you're looking for?
The ships.
That's
We want the Livingston stats PDF.
Yeah. What do we? I don't think I have the PDF to hand. I just have it. Actually, no, I do have the PDF. Hang on, I've got it.
Yeah, if you could link that in general for our.
Ooh,
I've now got it in front
cool.
of me as well. Do you know what? I'm going to print it out while I think about it, because then I've got it to hand. Fantastic. So, what did I say? The assistance is sensors and science. So that is a total of 11.
well, we get 1 success with an 8,
Good.
and
One
other-
critical failure.
the other dice, and just as it's a proof that these aren't weighted, considering I've already rolled a 20, we got a Star Trek symbol a combat symbol this time. So
Yo!
That is 2
Three
successes.
successes.
Well,
Good ship. Well done.
I believe with assistance. Now Ed can perhaps correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe with assistance you only roll 1 dice.
That's right. Yes.
So I'll let you keep the one, the natural one.
Oh, nice. Thank
so
you.
you get 2 successes from assistance, and Amy, we need reason and science from 2 dice.
okay. So my reason and science totals 14. My science is 4. I rolled a 6 and a 2.
Yay! So 2 more successes. You are now at maximum momentum
Yes.
with 6
Guys, I just-
momentum.
Looking at her, God, I am really happy to be sitting behind the tactical now that I'm looking at the fucking ship. Because our weapons system is huge. Sorry about that.
Oh, she's
It's
got
alright.
teeth.
Oh,
She's got
yeah.
teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the Defiant class for you. I mean, not that it's a variation on the space frame of the Defiant, but yeah. So, what your sensors tell you is that, first of all, there are no life signs on the station. Secondly, there are no vessels docked with the station and none within sensor range. It's worth noting that a cloaked vessel wouldn't show up in a normal sensor sweep.
Yeah, we wouldn't see it if that warbird was around here. We wouldn't see it anyway.
However,
Oh, go ahead.
there is something that shows on the sensors. You do get a blip, Davok, from a nearby asteroid field. You find an escape pod showing 1 life sign. It is very faint. It's Klingon, but it's not normal Klingon. It's a Klingon with kind of extra body armor and a strange exoskeleton. Looking at these readings, the pod itself appears to be damaged.
Now, remembering Davok, that's Chief Science Officer. If you've succeeded in a task assisted by the ship's computers or the sensor, you can gain a bonus momentum which can be used on obtain information. So you can basically ask for some additional information based on that. And basically that will not burn any of the momentum that we've already got because we're kind of maxed out already, but that's like an immediate momentum spend.
We only have 2 momentum that I know of, right? Or did all the good shit that we had get us way more momentum?
Yeah, I didn't
6.
just roll a bunch of successes.
Yeah, you got 6
sorry.
momentum now. Oh,
Clearly, I was just.
Yeah, it's
But
good to be,
that's a specific. If you're the chief science officer on board the ship, you get that specific. If you're nosying at stuff with the ship sensors or computer or with the tricorder, you can you can do that. You can get like a bonus.
okay.
Bonus momentum, but you can only use it on information gathering. You can't sort of use it to start whapping phasers about.
Would
No
you
setting your tricorder to shoot. Thank you, Davok.
would you like the information about the station or about the escape pod, the asteroid field, that kind of vicinity?
What's the most pertinent?
I'm going to let you, as you're the one snaffling in the computers, Davok, I think you should decide which one, what it is you gain from that.
I'm curious about this Klingon.
Okay. I mean, as you're focusing in that general area, you don't really get anything additional about the Klingon himself, but the asteroid field, you'd notice, is rich in kelbonite, which is a refractory mineral. Now, this makes transporter use dangerous. Not impossible, but dangerous. And it's also known to deflect energy beams.
I.e., we can't beam that life sign to us.
You can. Use of either the transporter or the tractor beam will just be more difficult than usual, but not impossible. Far from impossible.
And we'd probably have to move the ship, maybe move the ship in closer if we wanted to investigate that. That is actually quite...
You would anyway, because it's in a different area.
It's separate, yeah. It's a separate area.
You would have to move the ship into the asteroid field itself.
Fascinating.
There's
So,
our options.
yeah, so bearing that in mind, I think we should...
Just so you're aware, sorry, just to interject before you go on, you can spend an additional momentum and get some more information as well if you like.
Oh yeah, we could find out about the other
We've got a
station.
bit for that. Let's suck everything we can from those
Yes.
wonderful computers.
Yes. What else can you tell me about the station computer?
The station itself appears to have lost its atmosphere, with exception to the infirmary. The infirmary still has an atmosphere, nowhere else does. Emergency bulkheads and hatches have sealed it off from the rest of the station.
That's a bigger problem than it seems like.
Would my scan of life signs been able to penetrate that?
You
Would I
don't
know?
see any reason why it wouldn't.
Okay.
Right. So essentially, the atmosphere is gone, but in the infirmary, it's intact and has life support still functioning.
Yeah, but it's the
That's-
only part of the station with.
Could that be a last-ditch effort to?
I mean, we won't know until we get closer.
No.
Given the scans of the ship, there's only. The problem is immediately is if the station does have no atmosphere, it means that we have to get from the shuttle docking bay to infirmary without air.
Well, provided there's no sort of subspace interference like we experienced before, we should be able to transport straight to the infirmary if there's life support. If the life support's intact there.
I'll
a good
confirm
point.
that. Yes, you can, because the station itself is not in the asteroid field. So you can transport straight to the infirmary.
As Varren was saying that out loud, he will say, "Yes, Captain, that is correct." My bigger concern is once we're in infirmary, where do we go from there? On the off chance that someone opens a door, or on the off chance that there is a malfunction and a door opens up, and we have no air in infirmary. Regardless of where we go in the station, we need to have backup air supply.
That's right. We do have EV suits available on board the ship, so
Yes,
we
you
could suit up, teleport into the infirmary area, and then practically, as long as we're intact in our suits, go wherever we like. But I think first, as we've arrived here, our scan, Davok, did your scans indicate there was any damage to the station? Was it hadn't the Romulans we suspect to have come here haven't actually openly attacked it and caused the damage that's lost all its atmosphere, has it?
I like that people in chat know way more about Trek than I do.
Would your scan have shown up whether it had been? I mean, it should a sort of an approach scan would have indicated whether or not it had bits hanging off it and disruptor holes in it.
Not.
No.
Not that you can say. I mean, the ship is. The station is not in the best condition anyway. But that
yes,
ties in with the information that you get. You know, it's neglected.
Yes, it's seen better days and a lot of them, most likely.
So it's impossible to tell at the moment what could have caused it. You can probably surmise, actually, if you wanted that sort of information, the command deck, the computers on the command deck would probably hold that sort of information as to what happened here.
Well, there would be no atmosphere in that area, so we would still have to go in.
Is there any way to determine where the loss of air comes from? I doubt we would, because we couldn't see disruptor fire or anything like that. So I doubt without being able to go to engineering or some place like that, we would not be able to assume.
We'd have to get on board to find out that sort of information.
I can tell you that the loss of air comes from the outside.
Oh.
The outside is.
Sorry, I'm being very glib there.
Thank you, Stu.
Captain,
that's very helpful.
Make a suggestion?
Go ahead, Mr. Bosh.
Might it be worth sending the Aaron out to go and collect, or maybe the Peak to go and collect the shuttle, the escape pod, and drag it out of the asteroid field, and then maybe either beam it directly to our sickbay here, or beam it directly to the station sickbay with me as well.
That is certainly a possibility. Yes, we could send a shuttlecraft to go and pick up that It was an escape pod, didn't you say, Davok?
Yes, it was. I was just wondering, actually, with my work with the tricorder this week, would I be able to fiddle with the sensors to try and pick up if there's any parasite on that?
The tricorders do not have that kind of range at all.
I thought what Amy meant was if she's modulated the tricorder, could she modulate the ship sensors to do the same thing?
Oh, I see what you mean.
That was what you meant, wasn't it?
You could. I mean, if you took a few days over it, you could probably do that.
Should have been doing that last week.
Yeah, that would have been helpful. But...
Well,
we've got a tricorder and listening to Vulcan opera all week.
Well, if we get him on the ship, we can find out. So,
Vulcan opera has no innuendo in it. It's just we talked about what exactly is happening.
Yes.
It's
not come up with some of that in the Discord later, but you've given me some ideas now.
Yes.
Oh man, I will go for it later tonight.
Converted from the original Gilbert and Sullivan. If we, I'm thinking as we've arrived here, and there's no sign of anything Klingon apart from this one life sign. I think maybe go and investigate that first. But bearing in mind the hazard of that, I think just take the ship over there.
Commander,
because we've got very more powerful tractor beams and transporters on the ship, so we could presumably bring in that life pod straight to your medical bay, Mr. Bosh, and as long as we rig up some force fields around it, like sort of medical quarantine field, I think that would be acceptable.
Yes, once we get them to a point that we can safely transport, I would suggest that we transport directly to one of the biobeds, because we can set up a force field directly. They're built in there, as you know.
And bearing in mind that what we've encountered before with people who've been infected with this parasite, maybe Mr. Varren and his security team will be there on standby as well. But I don't think that even with their strength they'll be able to punch through a starship force field.
Captain, question. Not to question. Is the life pod on a trajectory that is significant, or else and Lieutenant Commander Bosh would be able to tell me this, if the life pod, is there any way to tell whether or not the life on board is in danger, or if it's on a trajectory to intercept an asteroid at some point or not? Because if it's not moving, it may be prudent to check the station before we check the life pod.
There are life signs, but they're weak, which means that they're failing. So they're dying if we don't do something.
Understood. I'm just thinking of our directives.
Well, that being the case, and technically, obviously, we have to protect Federation citizens, and as we said, Klingons are not Federation citizens per se.
Exactly.
But at the same time, we do have a duty to our allies and our potential lead in this perplexing mystery. So I'm going to order the Conn officer to set an intercept course with that life pod and move us over towards the asteroid field.
Just because you would be aware of this, piloting in the asteroid field is not going to be easy. And you also know, I mean, whether you've got humility about it is another matter. You also know who the ship's best pilot is.
Oh, yeah.
So are you ordering?
Ensign, move over. I'll take this.
Right.
Would you like me to keep your seat warm, Captain?
I believe that's my job, Lieutenant Commander.
Mr. Barrett, if you'd like to take the Conn, take the command chair, I'll only be a moment.
Okay.
Understood, Commander. Or Captain.
So,
as Varren sits down, you see glow about him and just like,
That's just your sunburn.
It is. All of this is just a sunburn.
Would Davok be able to provide assistance by calculating trajectories of the asteroids to assist Wraal in avoiding them?
I'm not sure. I think that moving over towards the asteroid, it depends on what the GM determines how difficult that is. But basically, navigating from one point to another in space is fairly straightforward. But then navigating within a dangerous area tends to be the Conn officer's abilities.
So control
by a
and con
ship.
for maneuver, and then engines and con for the ship's maneuver. Sorry, Stu. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Getting the ship into position in the asteroid field would be a difficulty 2.
Okay. So I'm going to take 2 dice for me. If someone's rolling on behalf of the ship assisting me.
Let's go with Matt again with his beautiful dice. One dice this time.
And I'm actually going to use one of my talents. I'm going to use my bold con talent, which actually I'm going to buy another D20 by giving Stu 1 threat. It means that our momentum stays where it is, but I get to re-roll a dice because I've bought it with threat.
Okay. So Matt, engines and con is 13.
13.
Yeah,
I
you
rolled
got
a
it.
10.
Fantastic. Rolled a 10. So you've
Yep.
got 1 success there.
Okay.
You need
I'm
another
control
success.
and con is a total of 14, and my con skill is 4, and I have a focus in helm operations.
Okay.
And we've scored a 10, a 2, and an 18.
Okay. So
So
you've
2 would
got-
count for the helm operations at least.
If
Right.
GM's willing to let helm operations be a focus for that, that counts as further 2 successes.
It does, but you only had you were only down by 1 momentum, and you cannot exceed that beyond 6. So yeah, you've got your momentum back, and you have succeeded. The asteroids are flying. I mean, they're sort of floating about and flying dangerously close, but you skillfully navigate closer. You are now in range of the escape pod.
Excellent. Right. I think in that case we will. Now there's no mechanical advantage in scanning closer in. Will it give us any more information than we already have, or
It won't give you any additional.
no? There's no point.
information,
No, just thinking that one out loud. No problem. Right. So our plan was to transport this direct to sickbay.
You're going to transport the Klingon. Now, who is going to operate the transporter? You either have your chief engineer standing by in the transporter room, and transporting from the transporter room decreases difficulty by 1. The difficulty, now just to give you an idea, right, it starts off as a difficulty 2. It is increased by 1 because the Klingon himself is not on a transporter pad. It is increased by another 1 because the destination is not a transporter pad. There is another difficulty because of the interference from the Carbonite, which I believe brings it to difficulty 5.
Which is impossible.
5 is
Improbable,
not impossible,
Possible.
but it is.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's impossible.
but I
As
have,
an I-
hang on, because I haven't finished. It is adjusted again if you choose Selena to do the transporting from the transporter room, or one of you can go down and do it. It would be reduced by 1 as well, so it would be difficulty 4 from the transporter room.
So she would roll 2 dice. She would be assisted by the ship, sensors and engineering, I think, for transporters.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
So she's getting 3 dice for starters, and again we can have someone assist her.
Is there a way to drag the ship out of the asteroid field before transporting?
Or the
which
pod,
I believe
the
was
pod
the
out?
original. The pod. That was the original
Okay.
intent. I think that was what Bosh had mentioned beforehand.
Okay, so you think actually instead of that being it, having a quick chat with the chief engineer, who's telling us how it's very difficult to transporting him with all this. They say, okay, can we lock on with a tractor beam and drag the pod back nearer towards the station?
I feel like, again, tractor beam would be just as difficult as we knew beforehand. But I think the original idea was to move a shuttle and drag the pod with out of there physically, not with a tractor beam or a transporter.
I hate to contradict you, Usher, but it is it's a different difficulty with the transporter. With the tractor beam. It would be a difficult...
I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm saying that was Bosh's original plan, was to actually use the shuttle to physically drag the pod out, not the tractor beam or the transporter.
Yes.
I'm just saying, let's not forget that.
Yeah. The tractor beam would be a difficulty 3. However, because of the damage to the escape pod, it would have a complication range of 3. Which means an 18, a 19, or a 20 on the dice would be a complication.
Would we be able to lower the difficulty by, rather than dragging the escape pod out of the asteroid field, just dragging it into our ship and then transporting from inside the ship so it's outside of the field?
I don't understand what you mean.
So rather than lock on with a tractor beam and bring it into a docking bay and then...
Yeah, and then transporting from there.
Well, if it's in a docking bay, we wouldn't need to transport. We could just go down and walk the person to med bay.
All that, yeah.
That's a good thought. However, tractoring into the docking bay is much more of a precision maneuver. So where you're losing on one thing, you're kind of gaining on the other.
Gaining on the other, yes.
It balances
the
out.
The Defiance docking bay is basically like a circular hole underneath it. It's not like the big room you see on like the Galaxy class. It's not quite the same.
My thought point is there's no point in sending a ship out there in the first place if we're not actually going to drag it back, because all you did was drive a ship out there to transport it back to us. We didn't have to get that far to transport it. We could have just transported it by itself.
Yes, you did. You were out of range from the transporters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. As our chat has delightfully pointed out, we can spend 2 momentum. Anyone can spend 2 momentum to lower the difficulty. You basically burn momentum to lower the difficulty, then you can say use momentum to add another dice. So you can.
What does that momentum leave us at if we fail?
We're full at the moment.
Yeah, we're maxed out at 6 currently. So we could for a transport job we can spend 2 momentum to lower it down to a difficulty 4 and then throw extra dice at it. It depends what if our transporter chief has any focuses. If our chief engineer has any focuses in transporters, that would help us.
Your chief engineer has one of her focuses is transporters.
There we go. So what's her engineering score?
4.
4. So yeah, 4s and below count as 2 successes.
Yeah.
I think that's it's worth trying to beam him over. He's fading fast. We don't want to waste too much time sending a shuttle out.
So we'll get the chief engineer to attempt to transport directly to sick bay, where Mr. Bosh can attend to the person in question, the life form, non-gendered, so it should be 2 dice for herself, assisted by the ship, and we shall help by spending 2 momentum to lower the difficulty by 1 further.
Okay.
We could spend a momentum to add a dice as well, couldn't we?
Exactly so. So then she's rolling 4 dice.
Hang on.
And if we wanted to save our
how
momentum
4?
further.
She's rolling 3 dice, surely.
Well, she rolls 2 dice for her.
Yeah.
The ship will assist with 1 dice.
You're counting the ship's one, right? Okay, yeah. I'm with you now.
And she'll and we'll buy a momentum dice to make it 4 dice, and we could even give Stuart 1 threat and throw in an extra dice so she's rolling the maximum of 5 dice.
We get an angry Klingon.
That's the complication. He's going to burst out of that transporter beam with a battler.
Varren is going to mention this is Captain. This is an awful lot of effort for a Klingon, which is not part of one of our 3 directives. Just pointing that out.
Yeah, it is. It's also the only Klingon within sensor range of a Klingon station that we've been ordered to investigate.
Well, I wouldn't say he's completely normal Klingon.
Yeah, there's something here we could do with finding out why and what it is and why it's here.
Understood, Captain.
Selena will point out that transporting the Klingon to the transporter pad will make it easier. It would basically reduce the difficulty by 1.
Oh, by further, yeah, okay. So how much would that be in total?
That would be a difficulty 3, because it's difficulty 4 currently.
What would that do for the medical
43.
situation?
I'd
Yeah, well, we can transport him to the transporter pad. Still have a field set up, essentially to stop anything happening in getting out. You can seal off the transporter pad with a quarantine or security field.
Okay.
Yeah, that would work better. So if it's a difficulty 3 task for her, do carry on with that. That will be 2 dice for her, 1 for the +1 for the ship. We will add an extra dice in from momentum, giving her 4 dice to roll in total. But obviously the ship assisting is sensors and engineering, so that might be a different score to what the others need.
So Selena's rolling 3 dice, the ship's rolling 1. Again, we'll get Matt with his lovely blue dice. So Matt, yours is sensors and engineering.
It's a big 10.
That's not a happy face.
It's a very happy face. It's another one.
Yes! So there's
they're
2
well balanced.
successes.
I'm looking forward to mine.
Yes.
Right. And Selena will roll her 3. We have 2 8s and a 14 against.
I actually think it's the other one. I think the other one rolled the 1 the first time.
Oh, cool.
Breaking them in one at a
against-
time. They'll never do it again.
15, so you gain 2 momentum back.
Wow, nice.
Because with 4 successes. No, 5 successes with a 1. Yeah. Yeah. And yes, the transporter activates, and Selena messages you over the comm to tell you that a Klingon is on the transporter pad, and the quarantine field is in place.
Okay, that was important.
She does
If at
tell
any
you
moment-
he's unconscious.
If at any moment it gained consciousness before Bosh or anybody else can get there, I'd like to place a force field around it.
Well, I'd imagine that as I will remain on the bridge, I imagine that Mr. Bosh and Mr. Varren have reported to the transporter room already, ready to receive our.
I've gone straight to sick bay.
If Bosh is going, I'll go with.
Well, ready. Sick bay's ready when you are to beam the patient directly to biobed 1, please.
In which case, I would be in engineering to. Well, no, I'd be with Bosh, so they would have to. They'd have to beam it.
Mm-hmm. So we're basically hopscotching, so it's gone from there to there and now into medical.
Right. Are you planning to move the ship out of the asteroid field to do the transport from the transporter pad? Because whilst ever you're in the asteroid field, you're going to get the interference. It's going to be just
as we've basically swooped in, grabbed what it is we wanted. Let's move the ship back towards the station.
Okay. I'm guessing you're still at the Conn?
Much as I trust any helmsman with 3 arms, I'm going to do this myself just for the moment.
Okay.
Is there emergency triage that anyone in the helms or in the engineering bay can administer? I know it's not their thing, but I would assume Starfleet personnel are trained in emergency triage.
As we are going, we're not going to hop them. We're going to get out of the thing. It would make sense to actually go to the transporter pad.
Yeah, that was my thought process. Had we known that that was going to go directly to sick bay, it was one thing. But if it was going to just engineering, then we're going to move. I feel like Bosh would be at engineering instead of sick bay waiting.
Okay. So we've got 2 things happening at once then. We've got Ed, you're moving the ship out of the asteroid field. So again, this is going to be difficulty 2, control and con, assisted by the ship's engines and con. So again, Matt, please, on the assistance.
Sorry, that was the ship's
engines and con.
Engine and con, yeah. That's 13 for you there, Matt. And
Yep.
I've
And-
scored 3 successes. I've got a 12 and a 3.
I got an
Damn.
11, so I got a 1.
Okay, so yeah, you sense quite well how these asteroids are moving and deftly manoeuvre the Livingston out of the asteroid field. Whilst that is
Nicely done,
happening,
gentlemen.
Varren and Bosh, you hurry your way to the transporter room, and yes, you see this unconscious Klingon on the transporter pad behind a force field. His cranial plates are unusually thick. His body appears to be developing some kind of an exoskeleton. He seems to have some horrible mutilations.
Is the Klingon armed?
Well, he's unconscious.
It doesn't matter. Is he armed?
I think the transporter protocols would have deactivated any weapons detected as it came through.
Yeah, that could have happened. That's no problem. Yeah, he carries a Ductag knife on his belt, as Klingons do.
I would.
And he, well, hang on, I'll finish the description of him first.
Sorry.
He has a massive injury on the back of his neck, a particularly nasty injury.
Oh no.
Tricorders.
He is behind the force field, let's not forget.
Yeah.
I would go to Bosh and say, "I'll lower the force field if you allow me to. If I can unarm him while we do this, and we can search for parasites."
Yeah. The first thing I'd want to do is inject him with one of the prepared hypersprays, and also I have a focus in triage to try and.
I'm going to say, are you sure you don't want to scan him before you lower the force field?
That's probably
Well, that was-
clear, actually.
Tricorders.
That's probably a smart
I
idea.
spent all week doing that.
Oh yes, We'll scan him with one of.
Davok's been
Mr.
working on this for
Davok's-
ages.
We'll just take out the
I haven't
tricorder.
seen him for a week.
Yes, we'll scan him with one of Mr. Davok's specially bedazzled tricorders.
The Uber tricorder
Okay.
My tricorder.
or the quadcorder. It's now the quadcorder.
Okay, so you're using your tricorder to do this rather than
Quadcorder.
the ship sensors.
That's
okay.
canon.
Give
They've
me
been specially configured.
give me a reason and medicine task, Bosh, with a difficulty of 2. Now, do you have any focuses that might be relevant, like Klingon biology or xenobiology or anything like that?
Trauma surgery, emergency medicine, triage, and infectious diseases.
It's infectious.
Gonna say none of those
Oh,
are relevant in this
it's gonna be
particular
no.
case.
Okay. So, I have a reason of 10 and a medicine of 5.
Okay.
And I rolled a 9 and a 2.
Okay, so you get 2 successes against a difficulty of 2. And as you are scanning him, his life signs stop. He is dead. You do pick up quite a lot of information from your tricorder. His mutilations, you're pretty sure, are self-inflicted. There's definitely traces of parasite there, and it seems like actually what caused his injury was him trying to cut the parasite out himself.
Right.
Damn.
There's a bit more. The Klingon is in a kind of de-evolved, de-evolutionary state. He appears to be almost reverting back to a primitive form of the species. Where Davok has spent this time adjusting these tricorders, though, to look for this parasite, like basically read for its DNA, you're getting some very, very strange readings. You're almost getting a positive ping, but not quite. It's sort of, it comes and it goes a little bit from the Klingon himself.
Huh.
Now, again, you can spend momentum to get extra information if you want.
Yes.
Burn it.
Yes, please.
Tell me more.
Okay,
Yeah.
you want to spend a momentum for some
Yes.
information. Looking at the way this ping is sort of coming and going, and focusing the tricorder on that, it would seem that alien DNA has been artificially introduced into the Klingon's genome. You can spend more momentum if you want.
Yeah, I'll spend another one to try and find a little bit more about
Further.
Okay.
what.
Looking further into the DNA, a key sequence of nucleotides in the alien's DNA is a definite match to the alien parasite.
Altering DNA.
Confirms exactly what you suspected. Is an explanation of that. And the neural parasite's DNA itself does appear to have been rewriting the Klingon's genome.
Interesting.
Jesus.
Into a more primitive and even more heavily armoured exoskeleton Klingon. Oh, good.
Yeah.
The previous time we encountered these things was they were infiltrating and seeking higher upness, conspiracies and all that kind of stuff. Maybe they're looking for an offensive assault.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's almost like they've gone for the insidious infiltration, and now they're looking for foot soldiers, tough ones. And who would you pick more than Klingons for that?
And armoured Klingons.
Cmdr maybe, but Klingons are definitely more available in this quadrant.
Yeah, and less reliant on Ketracel whites to keep them moving.
Yes.
Fantastic. Not fantastic.
Is there nothing we can do for this Klingon?
He's dead, Davok.
So no.
I'd second.
Doctor, not a mortician.
We need to perform an autopsy.
Check the back of the neck for any thorns, the spine, the gill.
It's a bloody stump. He's been trying to cut it out himself.
Has that killed the neural parasite inside? No, as we found, they are particularly they're and as Mr. Varren found, they're particularly susceptible to a swift application of Starfleet issue boot.
I mean, there's definitely there's a bit of remains of a neural parasite.
It seems to have been absorbed.
So the changes that happened to it were happening as he was trying to cut it out of his own body.
Yeah.
When I say a bit of a parasite, I mean a chunk. Clearly, the Dictarch has done its job.
So if you were a collection of Klingons and you were in a ship and you're at a station and your station was being affected by these parasites, and clearly they were aware and trying to stop it. So what do? You can't easily destroy them. They turn your colleagues into something that's more powerful. So you run to infirmary and you open up the airlocks and you flood out the station.
That would be my suggestion.
So I think that the infirmary on board the space station is possibly a last refuge of maybe the only ones who are left either unaffected, and they flushed all their colleagues out to give them an honourable death in space rather than have to face them.
I don't know. We're going to have to find out.
In that case, I think we should set course back for the station and have a look at that infirmary of theirs, because if Klingon medical technology is equal, at least to the federations, even if it's not as favoured in their culture. So if they have a medical officer on board, he may well have some information that Mr. Bosh could definitely be able to make use of.
I don't expect we'll find anyone. There were no life signs.
Okay,
Right.
well, as the Livingston...
Well, we've headed out of the asteroid field. We'll head back towards the station.
Yeah, and as the Livingston approaches Kortar Station, with it looming up in the view screen, that is where we leave it for this week.
Nice.
Perfect.
I mean,
Fantastic. Oh, how are we all feeling now? My goodness, it's getting quite...
That was
Weird.
That was some good rolling there. I think everyone did something cool.
It's really good rolling on, especially on Bosh and Amy's part. I feel like I was really quite concerned about going to the asteroid field and whatnot. I was just like, oh my god, like why give us more issues while going in there? But I feel like, I mean, considering the outcome, not ideal, but we may be able to learn something.
Going to the asteroid first, that's the Trek thing to do.
And I agree. And I was playing my character as such, and knowing that I'm Varren is Varren, and no, I felt like yeah. Well, it was the Trek thing to do, but he was focusing on his new job as XO and having 3 directives and just being like, why the fuck do those clowns matter?
Well, I believe in ancient Vulcan the term for first officer literally
You are
translates
such
as,
a nerd.
literally
Holy shit.
Quiet. Literally translates as water bringer. The idea is that the fire of the captain's is basically poured water on. It's like, let me present you with other options. Let me present you with
I'm really sorry. I don't know ancient Vulcan. Jesus Christ.
You will.
Oh,
Oh, man.
oh man, it's gonna happen.
You will
oh
do.
man.
You will do.
No, I'm
Fantastic.
thoroughly excited. I'm also mildly terrified about what's going on.
we are going to have to go on board that station. I don't think we're going to be able to find out very much by sitting outside and playing Spot the Klingon Station.
Yeah,
one of those.
Well, everyone's going to have to tune in a fortnight's time to find out what you do. So we're going to say goodbye to our viewers. So
Bye, guys.
Thanks
Until
for coming,
next
thanks for watching,
time.
thanks for
Thank you.
helping in the chat as
Yeah,
well.
thank you.
bye.
Bye.
Bye.